being our own loved one. A lot of us never really had the experience of being beloved isn't something that a lot of us know, especially not as we were growing up. And sometimes we felt like we were loved, but a lot of times we felt like we were kind of not really connected with or not really attuned with. And one of the practices that I do is kind of a practice, but it's kind of a mindfulness observance over the years that I've done is what is it that I'm doing that's taking me away from connecting with myself? And, that goes out to other people as well. But if we can't be connected with ourselves, if we can't be our own supporter, our own friend, then it's really difficult for us to connect with other people too. I think this meaning that we give to our life, that we've had trouble, trauma, disconnection, we've been hurt, we've been let down, and then we talk about the core deficiency beliefs that result from that. So if we don't have the experience of being loved and cared for, children always turn that against themselves. And we believe that there must be a reason why that didn't happen. Seems like everybody else feels loved, and certainly everybody we see on TV. And then we start to believe there must be something really wrong with us. So what I wanted to explore today is how we can really support ourselves, how we can really be on our own side and be our own loved one, be the person that really loves us and supports us and doesn't betray us. And how can we do that for ourselves? So there's probably lots that get stirred up around that. Just to look into your own eyes, or even just to imagine your face and to say, I love you. I support you. I'm on your side. And then to notice, what does that feel like? What are the thoughts that come in? What are the emotions? So often when people do that, it's difficult to do that, or we don't believe it. We don't believe ourselves. We're like, well, yeah, kind of, but we have that hesitancy because we've been so hurt. Let's go into just really sitting with this. I'm on my own side. I love myself. I support myself. I'm my biggest fan, and not in an egotistical way. Just, why wouldn't we be? If I can't be friends with myself, and if I can't care about my happiness and good health and a fulfilling life, that feels very, very sad to me. And there are always reasons. If we've never experienced what it's like to live knowing that we're really loved and cared for, how would we know how to do that? So notice what's going on in your body right now. Notice the energy. And this isn't usually what we do in these practices. We don't usually start right in on something like this. And so notice your response. Notice what's happening in your breath. What's happening in the energy? Is there a tightness in your chest? Is there a hardening up against it or a bracing? I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. Notice what's happening in your body right now. Just energy in your body, feelings, sensations. And then let your attention go to the tightest place in your body. And bring your attention there and see if you could allow it to soften. Take a couple of deeper breaths. And as you breathe in, if it's somewhere in your torso, especially if you're breathing in, you might be able to feel your chest opening. You could let your shoulders relax away from your ears. If it's your stomach, you might notice that you're kind of holding your breath. Just really notice what's going on. If you're clenching your teeth, move your lower jaw around a little bit, let that relax. And often when we look at something like this, the reason I would say those statements with such certainty is partly to see what is the resistance to that. So if I would say, I'm my own best friend, I support myself, I don't betray myself, then there might be evidence that pops into our mind. Well, that's not really true. We might judge ourselves or shame ourselves for something. So, whatever it is that's coming up, you could always do tapping, 2 fingers on the forehead, just take your attention away from the images, the words, put it into the sound and sensation of the tapping. You could focus on your breath. You could open your eyes, look around a bit. Now, with mindfulness inquiry, we're always working with staying present. So we're aware of what's coming up. We're tuned in. I'm my own best friend. And notice what comes up when you say those words to yourself. What would be some things that might be getting in the way of being your own best friend? And the first thing that comes to mind, which is so common, is the self judging, critical voice that a lot of us have. We are so much harder on ourselves than we would be to anybody else. So maybe the words would be, I'm willing to be a better friend to myself. And then what would that look like? Stay really in touch with your body and your breath. I would like to be more kind, more compassionate with myself. And what would that be like? Take a moment to really feel into that. If you were fully compassionate and kind, if you gave yourself that loving attention, that loving regard that you would to someone you really loved, what would that feel like in your body? Let yourself visualize that. What would you say to comfort yourself? What would you do to connect with yourself? and let that really come alive. What are the sounds, the smells, the textures, the visuals, the words of you being this compassionate, present friend? Notice what's coming up in the mind. If it's any kind of a rebuttal or a resistance, see if you could let that move to the background for a minute so that you could really experience what would it be like for you to hold yourself with this kind of regard. You know yourself so well, and you're not shaming yourself, you're not critical, you're just present with yourself, really attuned. Maybe there's something that's really difficult. Instead of shaming yourself, you're really just being present with yourself. Give that a few minutes. Really sit with that. And if it feels too difficult, you could imagine yourself doing it with someone else, someone you care about. But then come back to yourself. Could you include yourself in your circle of kindness and compassion? One of the things that we might notice is that we haven't really been there for ourselves. We've disconnected, it's been too painful. We've gone into addiction or some kind of denial or gotten really busy. There's so many ways that we disconnect from ourselves. Sometimes we've betrayed ourselves in order to stay with a person or a group. We haven't really shown up as ourselves or we pretended. Notice what is going on as you look at that. I haven't always been really here for me. And not to shame ourselves for not being here for me. To notice what does that feel like? To acknowledge that I haven't been able to do that. And whatever the energy or sensation is in your body, notice that there's space all around that sensation. Especially if you're feeling uncomfortable or there's something quite intense. We're always working with our window of tolerance at any given moment. So, right now, could you really feel into that sensation or that energy in your body around that? I haven't always been there for myself. And if you need to back away from it, that's fine too. You could work with your breath. You could relax your forehead, your jaw, your shoulders. Focus more on relaxing your body, stabilizing. And what could you do right in this moment to be there for yourself in a supportive, loving way? What would you want to hear? What do you need right now? And could you do that for yourself? Really staying in touch with your body, with your breath. Notice whatever energy is there. See if it's okay. You could welcome it. Thank you for arising. I love you. You're welcome to stay. This is part of what we do with friends is we're here. We're paying attention. We're not shaming them. We're supporting them with our attention, our kind regard. And notice the resistance that might come up. Our mind might wander. You might have thoughts about it. And those are all things that we could work with either now or we could spend more time with later. It's true for all of us that we haven't always been on our own side. We often shame ourselves or belittle ourselves, try to control things. It's all in an attempt to keep ourselves feeling safer, to not be so hurt. And we can sit with the reality of that. Life is very difficult at times. And we're very affected. And sometimes we really want it to be different so badly that we are not able to be present with ourselves as it is. So that's what we're doing right now. We're giving ourselves that opportunity. Right now, I can be present with myself, with the energy, with the memories, but also what would it be like right now in this moment to let all of that go, let the whole past go, and just be really present right now. Let yourself be the loved one, the cherished one. Notice your breath. Notice your whole body, head to toes. And notice what willingness is here right now to really love and support yourself. Is there a longing to know yourself, to be here, to be on your own side? And that's something that we could cultivate, to let ourselves know how much we want that. Something like this isn't a simple or easy thing. We have to keep coming back to it over and over. And every time we notice that we're calling ourselves a name or that we're impatient or frustrated with ourselves, as soon as we notice, we can bring ourselves back to this willingness to be good to ourselves, to be kind, to recognize our own basic goodness with all the chaos and struggle and hurt, that we can still be on our own side. We could not blame ourselves for everything that's ever gone wrong. We could really, with this more mature view, we could see now that a lot of the patterns that have developed through our life aren't actually helpful. For sure, they're not helpful, but also they're not true. It was never our fault. We were just trying to cope with the life that we were in. And now we can open to this, to live as our own loved one in compassion and kindness. And then let that whole inquiry move to the side. Notice your body and breath. You can move your body around a bit if you want. Let yourself come back to the room that you're in. Open your eyes.